So I watched Furiosa last night, and let me tell you, it was a movie. Here's the thing, I've been looking forward to George Miller releasing another installment in his Mad Max franchise ever since 2015's Fury Road, a film which... for me, kind of broke the rules of cinema. Not only is it just an absolutely bonkers piece of work, a rare instance of a movie which, yes, made decent money, which, yes, was a huge hit with casual moviegoers, and which, yes, you can basically show to just about anyone and they'll absolutely lap it up, but also a film which really took critics by surprise due to it basically just being one of the greatest, most balls-to-the-wall, insane, and spectacular action movies ever made. Not only did this thing win 6 Oscars, but it even made it into 2022's Sight and Sound Top 250 Greatest Films of All Time list, tying with movies such as Kubrick's Dr. Strangelove and Wilder's Double Indemnity. It's kind of hard to convey just how crazy that is, considering Fury Road is 1, a very new movie, and 2, on the surface, basically just a 2-hour action scene. But it really is just that good of a film. A whirlwind of jaw-dropping set pieces, beautiful cinematography, phenomenal directing and editing from George Miller and his wife Margaret Sixel respectively, and which also contains a surprisingly nuanced feminist subtext in a genre which is usually not the kindest to women. And I would say that when it comes to Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, all of these things carry over. It is actually kind of surreal that a 79-year-old made this. Like, I often talk about how impressive it is that Paul Thomas Anderson or Orson Welles made great movies at such a young age. However, George Miller is just as, if not more, inspirational here. Just like Fury Road, this movie feels like something a 30-year-old on lots of drugs would make. It just throws so much to the wall, from the weird, somewhat experimental camera techniques, you know, these really stylized slow-mos and zooms, to the actual content of the film, which contains just an endless list of crazy character designs, car chases, and general moments of complete insanity which most directors wouldn't even attempt to pull off. And you'd think that being a prequel, Furiosa would contain most of the same vehicles and weapons that Fury Road had. But no, there's a ton of awesome new stuff here, my favourite probably being these guys who, I guess you would call it parasailing? Or something? I don't know. Anyway, it's badass and so creative. I also find the writing here to go really hard. Again, much like Fury Road, it's not a movie with loads of talking, but when characters did open their mouths, I was often just blown away at the hardcore, heavy metal, almost biblical lines that were being spoken. There were multiple times where a character would say something, and I'd just be sat there like, did someone just say that in a mainstream action blockbuster? Like, what is going on? In many ways, Furiosa feels like an epic, angry, gasoline-fueled response to the conveyor belt of superhero, quote-unquote, action movies we get today. Maybe not to the same level as Fury Road, as that film also had the element of surprise, but definitely in terms of this movie being a prequel which completely stands on its own. It's not trying to start any spin-offs, it's not getting by on Fury Road references, no, it's its own self-contained story which simultaneously greatly enhances the previous installment. I almost want to say that it's doing to the modern prequel what Blade Runner 2049 did to the modern sequel, because we now have 2 modern Mad Max films which respect each other, which amplify each other, but which never get in the way of each other. You know, so often prequels just create plot holes and inconsistencies, and it's kind of annoying, but you just have to deal with it. But yeah, there is none of that here. Miller clearly cares a ton about this crazy world he's created, and went to great lengths here to ensure that Furiosa and Fury Road are 2 puzzle pieces which connect together seamlessly. Both Alyla Browne and Anya Taylor-Joy, who play young Furiosa and grown-up Furiosa respectively, are excellent. I'll be honest, I was a little disappointed when I heard that Charlize Theron would not be reprising her role from Fury Road, considering just how incredible she is in that movie. And, you know, it's not like she's aged that much since 2015. However, these worries were quickly extinguished once the trailers started dropping and I saw just how good Anya Taylor-Joy looked and acted as the now iconic character. Her voice especially is note perfect. Honestly, after watching Furiosa, I had to look up whether Theron had returned to provide some ADR or something, because it just sounded so eerily familiar. Tom Burke is also great as Praetorian Jack, who quickly reveals himself to be one of the only, I don't know, kind-hearted people in the whole Mad Max universe. However, I just about reckon my favourite performance here is Chris Hemsworth and his prosthetic nose as Dementus. And look, we've seen him in films before, such as Thor Ragnarok, exercise his more comedic chops, while still balancing that sense of heroism and valor. And, you know, he's great at doing that. I feel like he could do that in his sleep by now. However, I would be lying if I said I didn't prefer what he is doing here, which is essentially, yes, still doing his bumbling, vain, goofy act, but this time as a villain. It's definitely not a performance and not a character which would work in every movie, however, he fits perfectly into the Mad Max universe, so fair play, Chris Hemsworth. I think my biggest / only flaw with Furiosa, and it is a small flaw but I should mention it, is that I'm pretty sure it's relying a lot more on CGI than Fury Road. Now, with that being said, the CGI in Furiosa is very good, like barely noticeable most of the time, but I don't know, I think with Fury Road, one of the reasons it was so jaw-dropping at the time is because it all felt so real. But from what I've heard, this really took a toll on the production. And I imagine for Furiosa, the now 79-year-old Miller decided to lean a little more heavily on the CGI. It's not that big of a deal, but I think it will be interesting to watch both Fury Road and Furiosa, I don't know, 15 years into the future, to see how they individually hold up. But overall, I was thoroughly impressed by Furiosa. I do think it's one level down from Mad Max Fury Road. I don't know if we're ever going to see anything like that again, to be honest, but Furiosa is still one of the best action movies to come out this century, and also I think one of the best prequels ever made. I can't wait to go back and watch Fury Road again after seeing this, and then I'll probably go and watch Furiosa again before it leaves cinemas, because I'm sure there is so much I missed. But yeah, that's gonna be it. Actually, no, wait. Sorry, there's one more point I wanted to make. This thing flies by, like it actually went by so quickly. It's apparently 2.5 hours, but it honestly felt more like one of those tight 100-minute action movies. It doesn't waste a second. Every action scene worked for me, every emotional beat worked for me, and this is just a really good film. If it's the last movie in this franchise which George Miller directs, then it's been an honor, sir. If not, then I can't wait to see what this crazy man comes up with next. Please let me know what you thought of Furiosa in the comments, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one.